The shocking confession. The sound of the front door slamming echoed through the house. I froze in the living room, staring at the floor as if it might offer some secret answer. My hands trembled slightly, the leftover tension from schoolwork giving way to something heavier, more suffocating. Dad's footsteps were deliberate, almost too calm as he approached me. "Sit down," he said, his voice unusually steady, almost mechanical. I obeyed, sliding onto the old sofa that had seen better days. The cushions groaned under my weight, but it wasn't the sofa that made me feel uncomfortable. It was the silence that stretched between us like a taut rope. Dad's face was expressionless, but his eyes were unreadable. For a moment, I thought maybe he was just tired, worn down from work or the usual stresses of life. But then came the words that would shatter everything I thought I knew about our family. "We used your savings," he said matter-of-factly, "on someone more worthy." I blinked. Once, twice. My mind refused to process the words. "Wait, what?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. Dad leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "It's true. All the money you saved over the past 3 years, gone. But it was for a good reason." For a good reason? My heart was pounding now, each beat hammering in my ears. "Dad, that was my money. I worked for it. You promised me it would stay safe." He didn't flinch. "It wasn't just about money. Sometimes you have to make choices for the greater good, for the family." I wanted to scream, to hit something, to demand answers. But before I could, the front door creaked open again and a familiar figure stepped inside. Grandpa. His presence was commanding, almost magnetic. Even at his age, there was a strength about him that made people pay attention without him saying a word. He carried himself with that quiet authority that comes from years of experience, of having seen the world turn in ways most of us can't even imagine. Grandpa's eyes scanned the room. When they landed on Dad, there was a flicker of recognition, then something sharper, colder. "What did you just say?" Grandpa asked, his voice calm, but with an edge that cut through the tension like a knife. Dad swallowed, clearly caught off guard by his father's sudden appearance. I told them the truth, Father. We used their savings for someone who deserved it more." Grandpa's gaze didn't soften. It didn't even blink. "Someone more worthy? Do you even realize what you just admitted?" I could feel the air shift. The room suddenly felt smaller, suffocating, as if every wall, every piece of furniture was pressing in on us. Grandpa slowly took a seat across from Dad, his hands clasped together. There was no anger in his posture, yet the tension in the room made it clear that fury was simmering just below the surface. "You think it's your place to decide who is worthy and who is not?" Grandpa asked, his voice low but steady. "Do you think money belongs to anyone other than the person who earned it?" Dad opened his mouth, but no words came out. I saw something in Grandpa's eyes, a mix of disappointment, disbelief, and something else. Something I couldn't quite place. It wasn't just anger. It was a challenge, a warning. I swallowed hard, feeling my own emotions twist inside me. I wanted to cry, to run, to scream. But mostly, I wanted to understand how my own father could betray me like this. All those years of saving, every small sacrifice I had made, had been cast aside. And for what? For some vague idea of worthiness? Grandpa leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees. "Tell me exactly what happened," he said, his voice sharper now, commanding attention. "Every detail." Dad hesitated. The silence stretched, unbearable. I could see the weight of guilt pressing down on him, but he tried to hide it. Tried to appear strong, but Grandpa wasn't fooled. I thought it was the right thing," Dad said finally, his voice wavering slightly. "There's someone who needed it more than you did." Grandpa's eyes narrowed. "And you decided that for them? Without consulting anyone? Without even thinking about your own child?" I felt my chest tighten. My hands gripped the sofa cushions so hard my knuckles turned white. How could he? How could Dad make such a decision? And who? Who was this someone he deemed more worthy than me? The question hung in the room, heavy and suffocating. And in that moment, I knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The secret revealed Grandpa's gaze didn't leave Dad. It was like he could see every lie, every excuse, every hidden thought hiding behind the older man's words. The silence in the room pressed down on me, making it hard to breathe. I felt trapped between disbelief and anger, unsure whether to run, cry, or lash out. Finally, Grandpa spoke again, his voice sharp, deliberate. "Start talking. Who did you give my grandchild's money to, and why?" Dad swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing nervously. It's for someone in the family," he said hesitantly. "Someone who really needed it. I thought it was the right thing to do." "Someone in the family," Grandpa repeated, his tone flat but deadly. "You mean someone who had every other advantage and yet you stole what belonged to your own child to give it to them?" I felt a surge of fury. "Dad," I shouted, standing up, "that money was mine. Every cent. You promised me it would be safe." Dad shifted uncomfortably, clearly unable to meet my eyes. I I thought I just wanted to help," he mumbled. Grandpa leaned forward, his hands gripping his knees. "Help? Do you think taking from your own child is helping? Do you understand what this means for them?" I could feel tears welling up, but I forced them back. Anger burned hotter than sadness. I had saved that money for months, sacrificing small joys, skipping outings, and even working extra hours at the weekend just to watch it grow. And now it was gone, taken by the person who was supposed to protect me. Finally, Dad's defenses cracked. "It's for your cousin Sarah," he admitted, his voice small, almost ashamed. She she had a really bad situation. I thought I could fix it with your savings." I froze. Sarah? My cousin? The one who always seemed to get everything she wanted without effort? The one who never even asked for help? But somehow Dad decided she was more worthy than me? My blood boiled. Grandpa's eyes narrowed, and I felt the tension in the room rise like a storm about to break. "You mean to tell me you gave my grandchild's hard-earned money to someone who didn't even earn it themselves? Someone who never worked for it?" Dad nodded shamefully. I I thought it would make a difference for her. I thought I could protect her. I thought I was doing the right thing." Grandpa leaned back, shaking his head slowly. "You thought? You thought? You took away my grandchild's future because of what you thought was right for someone else?" I wanted to scream, to hit something, to demand justice. But Grandpa's eyes stopped me. There was a dangerous calm in them, a storm waiting to be unleashed. I realized then that this wasn't just about money. This was about respect, trust, and the betrayal of someone who had been like a parent to me. "Do you even realize what you've done?" Grandpa continued, his voice low but cutting like glass. "You've taken away their trust, their security, and for what? Some sense of moral superiority? You've treated your own child as if they were less important than someone else. And for that, you will answer." I could feel the weight of his words settle in my chest. Grandpa wasn't just angry, he was disappointed. And that hurt more than anything else. I realized then that this confrontation wasn't just about the money. It was about how my father had chosen to betray me, to make a decision that would affect my life without my consent. I I didn't know what else to do," Dad whispered, almost pleading. Grandpa stood up slowly, his presence suddenly overwhelming. "You didn't know? You didn't know because you never stopped to think about the consequences? You never stopped to think about the person you were hurting. And now," he paused, looking directly at me, "we have to fix this. But first, I need you to understand one thing." I looked at him, heart racing. "What?" Grandpa's eyes softened slightly, but the intensity remained. No one has the right to take what is yours without your permission. Not your father, not anyone. And if that is lost, then it is not gone forever. There is a way to make things right, but it won't be easy." I felt a strange mix of hope and dread. Hope because Grandpa was on my side. Dread because I knew whatever came next would change our family forever. Dad sank into the sofa, his face pale, realizing that Grandpa wasn't going to let him off easy. And as I stared at him, I understood one terrible truth. This was only the beginning. Grandpa's plan, The room felt colder now, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. Dad sat slumped on the sofa, silent and defeated, while Grandpa's sharp eyes seemed to pierce straight through him. I stayed frozen, still reeling from the revelation that my father had taken my savings and handed them over to Sarah. It felt surreal, like I was trapped in a nightmare that refused to end. Grandpa finally spoke, his voice measured, but every word carried weight. This cannot stand. What he has done is not just unfair, it is theft. You worked for that money, you earned it, and no one, not even your father, has the right to take it from you. Dad's face turned pale. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. I could see the guilt in his eyes, but it didn't erase the betrayal. I clenched my fists, trying to control the swirl of anger, hurt, and disbelief inside me. Grandpa turned to me then, his tone softer but firm. "We're going to get it back, but first I need you to trust me." "Trust you?" I said, incredulous. "I don't even know if I can trust him." I gestured toward Dad, who sat silently, shame written on every line of his face. "You can trust me," Grandpa said calmly. "I've dealt with situations like this before. People think they can manipulate others, take what isn't theirs, and get away with it. But there is always a way to set things right." I felt a flicker of hope, the first in hours. "But how? Sarah already has it. Dad gave it to her." Grandpa nodded. "Yes, that's why this needs to be handled carefully. We can't just storm in and demand it back. We need to understand the situation fully. How she got the money, what she's done with it, and what she plans next. Only then can we act." I glanced at Dad, who was still slouched in defeat. "And what about him?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Are you going to—" Grandpa gave a small, sad shake of his head. "He will have to face the consequences of his actions. But right now, our priority is restoring what was taken from you. Justice comes first, and only later do we deal with betrayal." I nodded, swallowing hard. My anger hadn't diminished, but Grandpa's presence made me feel less alone. Somehow, I knew that with him guiding things, we could fix this. "Tomorrow," Grandpa continued, "we will visit Sarah. We'll find out what she knows, what she's done, and why your father thought it was acceptable to give her what belonged to you. We need the full story before taking action." I felt my stomach tighten. Confronting Sarah would be difficult. She had always been clever, always finding ways to twist situations to her advantage. But I also knew Grandpa was not someone who could be easily intimidated. With him leading, I felt a strange sense of confidence amidst my fear. Grandpa looked at Dad one last time. "And you?" he said, his voice low and commanding. "Will have to explain yourself. Not just to me, but to your child. This cannot go unaddressed." Dad nodded slowly, barely able to meet anyone's eyes. I could see him realizing the gravity of his mistake. The room was silent again, but this time it wasn't heavy with tension. It was heavy with anticipation. Something had shifted. As I sat there, I thought about all the sacrifices I had made, all the careful saving and planning I had done, only to have it stolen from me. But now, with Grandpa by my side, I felt a spark of hope. Hope that what was lost could be restored. Hope that justice would be served. Little did I know, the confrontation with Sarah would uncover even more secrets. Secrets that would shake our family to its core and reveal just how far my father had gone in trying to help someone else at my expense. For now, though, all I could do was brace myself for tomorrow. Tomorrow we would face Sarah, and I would finally demand the truth. Confronting Sarah. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the curtains, but it did nothing to warm the chill in my stomach. Grandpa and I drove to Sarah's house in silence, the hum of the car engine the only sound between us. My mind raced with 1,000 questions. How could Dad think it was okay to give her my savings? And what would Sarah do when confronted? Grandpa didn't speak much, but I could sense his plan forming. He had a way of observing people, reading their intentions, without them ever realizing it. I tried to calm myself, taking deep breaths, but my hands were clammy and my heart thudded in my chest like a warning drum. When we arrived, Sarah's house looked exactly the same as always. Pristine, carefully maintained with flowers blooming in perfect rows outside. It almost mocked me, a serene front hiding whatever she had done with my money. I hesitated at the door, but Grandpa nudged me forward. Remember, he said quietly, we need the truth. Don't let emotions cloud your judgment. Stay calm and listen carefully. I nodded, though my chest still felt tight with anger. Grandpa rang the doorbell, and within moments, Sarah appeared, her smile bright and welcoming as ever. But there was a flicker in her eyes, a hint of apprehension that I noticed immediately. Hey, what brings you here? She asked cheerfully, though I could sense the tension beneath her words. Grandpa stepped forward, his presence immediately commanding the room. We need to speak with you about some money that was given to you recently, he said firmly. It belongs to my grandchild, and we need to know why your father thought it was acceptable to give it to you. Sarah's smile faltered slightly. Oh, that. Well, Dad just wanted to help me. He said it would cover some of my expenses. She glanced at me, her eyes flickering with uncertainty. I didn't ask for it. I didn't even know it was your savings. I felt a surge of disbelief. You didn't know? Dad took years of my hard work and gave it to you, and you didn't even know? My voice cracked slightly, fueled by anger and frustration. Sarah shifted uncomfortably. I mean, yes, I knew, but I didn't expect it. I didn't ask for it. I swear I didn't. Grandpa cut her off, his voice low but cutting. Silence. This isn't about excuses. This is about facts. You received money that was not yours. Your father made the decision without consulting anyone. He betrayed his own child for your benefit. Do you understand what that means? Sarah swallowed, her hands fidgeting nervously. I guess. I didn't mean to cause trouble. I just? Grandpa's gaze was like steel, unyielding. Just allowed someone to steal from a child who trusted their own parent? You may not have asked for it, but you accepted it. And now we need to know exactly what happened to it. I watched as Sarah's composure began to crumble. Her confident facade slipped, revealing worry and fear. I realized then that Grandpa had done exactly what he needed to do, cornered her without giving her a chance to manipulate the situation. Tell us everything, Grandpa demanded. How much was taken, what you did with it, and why you think it was right to accept it. Sarah hesitated, looking between Grandpa and me. Finally, she sighed, defeated. It's complicated. I needed the money for a medical emergency. I didn't know how else to get it, and I thought, maybe he thought it was the best solution. I felt my anger twist into confusion. A part of me wanted to be furious, but another part realized that Sarah truly had been in need. My mind reeled. Dad. He had chosen to help her, thinking he was doing the right thing. Grandpa's eyes narrowed. And you never considered asking the rightful owner, the one who saved the money themselves? You never thought it would be better to discuss it instead of taking what wasn't yours? Sarah shook her head. I didn't think. I just needed help. I didn't mean to. Grandpa raised a hand, stopping her. The point is not your intent. The point is actions have consequences. My grandchild's trust has been broken, and that cannot be ignored. We will work out a way to fix this, but understand this. Mistakes like this have lasting effects. I felt a knot in my stomach. There was truth in Grandpa's words. I had lost money, yes, but there was more at stake. Trust, respect, and the boundaries that had been crossed. Grandpa looked at me, and for the first time that day, I felt a sense of calm. We'll handle this, he said softly. But you need to be patient. Righting wrongs takes more than anger. It takes strategy and clarity. As we left Sarah's house, I realized that this battle was far from over. There were explanations to hear, decisions to face, and most importantly, my father needed to face the consequences of his choices. The reckoning begins. The drive back from Sarah's house was quiet. I stared out the window, my thoughts tangled in anger, confusion, and a strange sense of betrayal. Dad had crossed a line I thought no one in my family would ever cross. And yet, Grandpa's presence beside me brought a strange calm. I knew he had a plan, though I had no idea how far he would go to set things right. When we arrived home, Grandpa motioned for me to wait while he called Dad into the study. The heavy oak door closed with a thud behind him, leaving me outside in the hallway, my mind racing. I could hear snippets of their conversation, Dad's voice shaky, Grandpa's calm but cutting. Your actions were not just misguided, they were outright theft, Grandpa's voice said firmly. You've betrayed the trust of someone who depended on you. Do you understand that? Yes, I know. I'm sorry. Dad's words trembled, but Grandpa's tone didn't soften. Sorry is not enough. You need to make this right, and you need to face the consequences of your choices. You've undermined this family's trust, and that is not easily repaired. I pressed my ear to the door, unable to resist, though I knew I shouldn't eavesdrop. What do you mean, consequences? Dad asked, panic creeping into his voice. First, Grandpa replied, we need a full account of what happened, how much money you gave, to whom, and why. Then we will discuss restitution, and finally we will talk about accountability. You need to understand the gravity of your actions and the trust you broke. I stepped back, my chest tight. Grandpa wasn't just going to scold Dad, he was going to make sure justice was done. My heart raced, a mix of hope and fear. This was the reckoning I had been waiting for. After what felt like hours, Grandpa emerged from the study. His expression was unreadable, but I could sense determination in every line of his face. We have a plan, he said simply, but it will require patience and strategy. And most importantly, your father will have to cooperate fully, or face the consequences alone. I nodded, relief and anticipation mingling in my chest. What's the first step? I asked. Grandpa's eyes gleamed with resolve. First, we ensure Sarah cannot misuse the money. We need transparency, proof of where every penny went and how it was used. Then, we reclaim what is yours. And finally, your father must confront the damage he caused, not just financially, but emotionally as well. I swallowed hard. And Dad? He will answer for his decisions, Grandpa said firmly. He has underestimated the consequences, but he will learn. And you? You will regain what is rightfully yours. That is non-negotiable. Later that evening, I confronted Dad directly. His posture was defensive, but there was a flicker of fear in his eyes. I don't know if I can fix this, he said quietly. You will, I said, my voice stronger than I expected. Grandpa's helping, and you're going to cooperate fully. You have no choice. Dad nodded, defeated. For the first time, I saw genuine remorse in him. And though it didn't erase the betrayal, it was a start. Grandpa sat across from us both, his presence commanding yet calm. We move carefully, he said. This is more than money. It's about trust, family, and the respect that must be maintained. If we act rashly, we risk losing more than just money. But if we follow the plan, we can restore balance and ensure that everyone understands the consequences of their actions. I realized then that Grandpa's wisdom was my greatest ally. He wasn't just going to help me recover my savings, he was going to make sure that justice, respect, and accountability were restored. That night, I went to bed with a mixture of hope and anxiety. Tomorrow, the next phase would begin. Grandpa had a plan, and I would be part of it. Sarah's story would be fully revealed, my father would face his reckoning, and I would finally see the restoration of what was rightfully mine. But deep down, I knew this journey would be more complicated than I had imagined. Secrets would surface, motives would be questioned, and the truth would shake our family to its core. And yet, I felt ready, because for the first time, I wasn't facing this alone. Grandpa was with me, and together, we would reclaim what had been taken. Uncovering the truth. The next morning, Grandpa woke me early. The air in the house felt charged, like something monumental was about to happen. Today wasn't just about confronting Sarah again. It was about uncovering the full truth behind my stolen savings. Grandpa had a methodical way of approaching problems, and I knew he wouldn't let anything slip through the cracks. Patience and observation, he said as we drove to Sarah's house. We need to understand exactly where your father went wrong and why. Only then can we reclaim what is yours. I nodded, gripping the car seat tightly. The tension in my chest hadn't eased since yesterday. Part of me wanted to storm in and demand the money back, but Grandpa's calm presence reminded me that anger alone wouldn't solve anything. When we arrived, Sarah was already outside, tending to her garden. Her smile faltered when she saw us approaching. There was something almost guilty in the way she straightened her posture, her hands brushing over the soil as if trying to hide nervousness. "Good morning," Grandpa said, his voice polite but firm. "We're here to discuss the money your father gave you, how it was used, and your intentions regarding it." Sarah hesitated, glancing between Grandpa and me. I I told you everything yesterday," she said softly. Grandpa's gaze didn't waver. "Not everything. I need a full account. Every detail, every expense, every transaction. Transparency is essential. Start from the beginning." I watched as her confident demeanor began to crack. She realized Grandpa wasn't someone she could easily manipulate. Slowly, almost reluctantly, she began to speak. "The money. Some of it went to my medical bills. That part was necessary. But," she paused, swallowing hard, "I also spent some on other things. Things I wanted, things I didn't need. I didn't think it would matter because your father, he gave it to me willingly." My stomach twisted. I had expected some misuse, but hearing her casually admit it stung worse than I imagined. Every penny of my hard-earned savings, treated like it was disposable, spent on things that weren't essential. Grandpa didn't speak immediately. He simply listened, his eyes scanning her, analyzing every word, every gesture. Then he leaned in slightly. "Do you understand the consequences of your actions? You have benefited from someone else's hard work without permission. That is not acceptable. But you also have the opportunity to correct your mistakes." Sarah's hands trembled. I I can pay it back. I didn't mean, I didn't know." "Intentions are irrelevant," Grandpa said firmly. "Actions have consequences. Your father took what was not his to give. You accepted it. Both of you must now take responsibility." I felt a strange mix of anger and relief. My savings had been misused, yes, but finally the truth was out. No more excuses, no more lies. Grandpa was setting the stage for accountability, and it felt like the first step toward justice. Then Grandpa's gaze shifted toward me. "You'll be involved in reclaiming this money, not just to get it back, but to ensure that you understand your value and the power of standing up for yourself." I swallowed hard. The thought of directly confronting Sarah about the money still made me nervous. But with Grandpa guiding me, I felt ready. This wasn't just about money, it was about respect, trust, and ensuring that no one in our family could ever undermine me like this again. Sarah's eyes flicked nervously between us. I, "I'll cooperate," she said quietly. "I'll do whatever it takes to fix this." Grandpa gave a slight nod. "Good, that's the first step. Tomorrow we will go over the exact figures, document everything, and begin the process of restitution." "And your father?" His eyes narrowed slightly. "He will watch and learn the consequences of betraying his own child." As we left her house, I felt a strange sense of control returning. The chaos of the past days, the betrayal, the anger, the shock, was slowly being replaced by a plan, a structure, a path forward. With Grandpa leading, I realized that what had been taken from me wasn't lost forever. And deep down, I knew that when all of this was over, Dad would not just return the money, he would finally understand the weight of what he had done. But what I didn't yet know was that Sarah had secrets of her own. Secrets that would complicate everything and reveal truths even more shocking than the theft of my savings. Restitution and revelations. The next morning, Grandpa sat at the head of the dining table, a ledger open before him. Dad and I flanked him on either side, while Sarah sat across, fidgeting nervously. The atmosphere was tense, thick with unspoken accusations and anticipation. This was the moment where truth would finally be measured, and consequences decided. Grandpa's gaze swept across all of us. "Today we begin the process of restitution," he said, his tone calm but uncompromising. "We will account for every penny of money that was taken, every transaction, and every misuse. Transparency is mandatory." Sarah swallowed hard. I understand," she said quietly. Her hands were clasped tightly in her lap. "Good," Grandpa replied. "Let's start with the total amount. Dad, you gave her exactly how much?" Dad shifted uncomfortably, his eyes fixed on the table. "It was $25,000, he admitted, voice low. "I thought it would help her with her situation." Grandpa's eyebrows rose. And you did not consider the impact on your child, the rightful owner of this money? Did you even ask them? No. I thought, I thought it would be better this way, Dad muttered, barely audible. I felt anger surge again, but Grandpa placed a firm hand on my shoulder. Control your emotions, he said softly. We are addressing the problem strategically, not emotionally. Grandpa turned to Sarah. Now, provide a full account of where this money went. Every expense, necessary or otherwise, must be documented. Sarah hesitated, then began speaking. Some of it went to medical bills, emergency surgery my brother needed, she explained, her voice wavering. That was unavoidable. But some of it, I admit, I bought personal items, things I didn't really need. I realize now that it was wrong. He yanked open the small storeroom door, pushed aside boxes, and reached the narrow window. The door behind us cracked again. My mother whispered shakily, "Run!" Arslan lifted me through the window first, then followed, landing on the small side passage outside the house. The moment his feet hit the ground, we heard the bedroom door break open inside, and the man's voice thundered, "Where is she?" Arslan grabbed my hand, and we ran. The letter my father wanted me to find. For the next few seconds, I just stared at my mother. Her eyes were full of fear, guilt, and something else. Something like exhaustion. As if she had been carrying this secret for too many years and her strength was finally running out. "Ami," I whispered. "Please. Ab sab sach batadain." She looked at Arslan, at the old album on the table, and at the ring on my finger, and her face softened with a heartbreaking sadness. "Sit," she said. We sat like three strangers tied by the same storm. Ami took a deep breath. "There is something your father left for you before he died, a letter?" "A letter?" My heart skipped. "Why didn't you give it to me?" I asked, confused and hurt. "Because he wrote that you should only read it when you are grown, and when the truth would not destroy your innocence." Her voice shook. "I thought your wedding meant you were ready." My pulse started racing. "Where is the letter?" Ami stood up slowly, walked to her wardrobe, opened a small iron box, and pulled out a sealed envelope. Yellow with age, edges curled. My father's handwriting on it hit me like a punch to the chest. "For my daughter, when she is ready." My fingers trembled as I opened it. Inside was a folded page and a small photograph. I opened the letter first. "My dear daughter, if you are reading this, it means life has taken you to a point where the truth matters more than protection." My throat tightened. "There is something you are too young to understand. You once had an older brother. His name was Ayan." The room spun. My eyes jumped to the small photograph inside the envelope. The same boy from the family picture. A shy smile, big eyes, standing slightly behind Abu. My head started shaking on its own. Ayan was not your mother's son, he was mine. From a time before I met her. A chill crawled down my spine. Arslan put a hand on my back to steady me. I kept reading. "Your mother accepted him with a generous heart. She raised him like her own. We were a complete family. Until the accident." Ami covered her face with her dupatta, silently crying. "I made a mistake that destroyed us. I trusted the wrong people. I let someone into our home who envied our happiness." My hands shook. And one night, they used my son to hurt me. Ayan went missing. My breath caught. Missing? Not died? Missing? The police found no trace. The case went cold. Your mother broke. I blame myself. Ayan's disappearance killed everything inside me. Tears slid down my cheeks. If one day you ask why your mother looks at you with fear, it is because she is afraid the past will return for you as well. I felt my entire body turn cold. I hoped to find Ayan before my death. I failed. But you. Maybe you will succeed, or maybe you will choose peace and let him go. Whatever you choose, know this. You were never the cause of any sorrow. The letter ended there. I folded the paper with numb fingers. For a moment, none of us spoke. The silence was heavy, suffocating. "So?" My voice cracked. "He is my brother." Ami nodded weakly. "Yes." And someone took him because they wanted to hurt Abu? Yes. And we still don't know who? Ami wiped her tears. Your father had a suspicion, but he never had proof. I looked at her sharply. Suspicion? Kispar? She looked down. Your chacha. My blood froze. Before I could react, Arslan leaned forward. Auntie, there's something you should know. We turned to him. I think someone is watching your house, and they don't want this truth coming out. The air went heavy. Ayan missing. Chacha suspected. Someone watching us. My wedding in 2 days. And an unanswered question, was Ayan even alive? The truth was no longer a storm around me. It was now a storm coming for me. The man watching me from across the street. Arslan's words hung in the air like smoke. For a moment, I felt nothing. No fear, no anger, just a strange numbness spreading through my chest. Ke kya matlab? I finally whispered. Someone is watching our house? Kaun? Arslan exhaled slowly. Main pehle sochta tha ke shayad mera doubt ho, but for the last 2 weeks, every time I drop you home, there's a man standing across the street. Same spot, same time. A shiver crept up my spine. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I asked. Because, he said carefully. I didn't know if it had anything to do with you. But after hearing about Ayan and your cha-cha, I can't ignore it. Ami clutched her dupatta tightly, her eyes wide with fear. Ya Allah, she whispered. He found us again. Who? I asked sharply. Ammi, kiski baat kar rahi hain? She looked at me with trembling lips. Tumhare chacha ka sala, Nasim, the man your father suspected. He was the one close to Ayan during his last days. Too close, too interested. My stomach twisted. I tried to recall the man from my childhood. A tall guy with sharp eyes who always lingered in the corners during family gatherings. I remembered not liking him, though I never knew why Arslan leaned forward. The man I saw, he fits that description. My breath caught. Tell me exactly what you saw, I said. Arslan nodded. 2 weeks ago, I dropped you after your Mendy shopping. It was around 9 p.m. You went inside, and I waited to make sure you were safe. That's when I noticed a man across the street, half hidden behind a white Suzuki. He wasn't doing anything, just watching your house. He looked familiar, but I couldn't place him. I swallowed hard. Then yesterday, he continued, when I came with the flowers, the same man was there again, same clothes, same position, as if he was waiting for something. A cold fear rushed through me. Ami stood up suddenly, pacing the room. We have to call someone. Your mamu, the police, anybody. No, I interrupted quietly. If this is really connected to Ayan, to Abu's death, to Chacha, to police bilkul madad nahi karegi. They closed the case years ago. Arslan nodded. She's right. I turned to him, feeling a sudden jolt of urgency. Arslan, can you recognize him if you see him again? Yes, he said without hesitation. Good. My voice was steady, surprising even myself. Because if he's watching us, then we need to know why. Ami stopped pacing and looked at me with terrified eyes. Beta, this is dangerous. Tumhari shadi 2 din baad hai. Ye sab chhod do. Ammi, I said softly, Mera bhai missing hai. Someone took him, someone destroyed Abbu, and now someone is watching us again. How can I ignore that? She sank onto the sofa, defeated. I looked at the letter again, my father's handwriting, his pain hidden between the lines. Ayan. Was he alive? Or was someone using his name to hurt us? Suddenly, a loud knock on the gate echoed through the house. We all froze. Another knock harder. Ami clutched my arm. Kaun ho sakta hai itni raat ko? Arslan stood up slowly. I'll check. Wait, no, I whispered, but he had already moved toward the door. I followed him, my heart thudding. The corridor felt longer than usual. The lights flickered slightly, something they rarely did. Arslan unlatched the main door, opened it a few inches, and then suddenly pushed it wide open. What the? A man stood outside, tall, thin, wearing a brown jacket, face partially hidden under a cap. His hands were empty, but something about him felt wrong. Very wrong. Arslan stepped forward. Who are you? Why are you standing outside this house every night? The man didn't move, didn't blink, just stared straight at me. My blood froze. Because the moment his eyes met mine, something deep inside me jolted violently. A strange recognition. A pull. A memory I didn't remember having. The man whispered only one sentence. You look exactly like her. And then he turned and ran. Arslan bolted after him. I screamed his name, but by the time he reached the street, the man was gone, vanished into the shadows. I stood there trembling, breath shaking, heart pounding in my throat, because one question screamed in my mind: who was the her he meant? My mother, or my missing brother's mother? The hidden clue in the photograph, approximately 650 words. After the man vanished into the shadows, I staggered back inside, shaking uncontrollably. My mother's face was pale, as if she had seen a ghost. Arslan returned a few moments later, breathing heavily, scanning the street for any sign of him, but the man was gone, disappeared like a phantom. I sank onto the sofa, clutching the letter from my father. My heart still raced. That voice, that look, I knew I had seen him before. Somewhere, somehow, I had glimpsed that face before, maybe as a child, maybe in that long-forgotten photograph. Suddenly, I remembered the crease in the old family photo, the one in the album that first started all of this. The photograph where my brother, Ayan, stood slightly behind Abu, a boy with big, curious eyes. The crease ran over his face like a secret someone had tried to hide. I had never thought much of it before, but now, it felt like the first real clue my father had left me. I grabbed the album and flipped to the page. Ami gasped, Betty, don't. I ignored her, scanning the photograph carefully. The crease. I traced it with my fingers, running along the edge of the boy's eyes. Something clicked. Beneath the crease, faint writing appeared, almost invisible, like it had been written in pencil decades ago. I leaned closer, it said,